the dang music. What's up, everybody? Yeah, look, we've extended the Cyber Week special. We just did very well. Folks got a lot of product cheap, and a lot of people were emailing saying, hey, you know, next week I get paid, or next week this or that. Can you extend the special? So 50% off all products right now. Where's it? It's right there. It's right there. LifeCortex.com. That's the discount code that includes coaching. If you need to book me, listen, if you need to get libido and erection straight on TRT, I'm your guy. This is what I do. I have full confidence in the ability to restore it. I've been doing it for years. It is not difficult when you know what to do. It really isn't. Brothers. Okay, so let me start by saying cream is the best TRT modality. I'll just say it. You know, I honestly think that it is going to be more popular as time goes on. It's already super popular using test cream for testosterone. But like more and more, it seems clear to me that people just end up doing better with cream over cypionate or enanthate or anything, even prop, because the whole goal of TRT, your goal should be to convert a lot more to DHT and less to estradiol. Right. And that is essentially what cream offers. I see these cases of people running cypionate, especially for years and years and years. And they're trying different doses. They've tried AIs, they've tried DHT derivatives, and they can get pretty okay sexual function on it and feel relatively okay. But then they've got weird side effects. They've just got side effects. The libido isn't consistent. It's not primal, you know, that really, really aggressive drive to have sex where you kind of just can't control your propensity to engage in sex. But you do want that. You can have it as a 45-year-old man, a 50-year-old man, a 65-year-old man, or a 25-year-old man. It's not exclusive to 17-year-olds. With TRT, and especially cream, this is how people get that back. Right? With the right protocol, you get that crazy libido back. It is entirely doable. I think some folks just go on TRT and like end up on cypionate or whatever, and they try different shit, and they're like, you know what? I'm just going to accept that I'm not going to have strong libido like I used to when I was young. And it's nonsense. Believe me when I tell you, you can have libido that makes you crazy, and you're a lot more likely to do that with cream. Now, erections, DHT is the driver of that. With estrogen controlled or in range, and cream is your best option to get that. You know, it's your best option, right? Fail safes with me during coaching when folks are just not responding to cypionate, and I see it. Their test is at 675, but guess where estrogen is? 45-50. Dude, at 675 test, your E2 should be 22, 25. That's a classic over aromatization, and it's not because the person necessarily or exclusively is over aromatizing. It's the fucking ester, boys. It is the ester. Switch to cream, problem solved. Please keep that in mind. Brothers, let's get to questions. Can unmanaged high E2 cause hair shedding? No. Estradiol does not cause hair shedding. It does not. Not that I know of. I mean, maybe you can find that in the literature, but no, like those of us on TRT, which I assume might be you, and all of us here know that it's the DHT. I mean, the DHT gets too high. You, just like on your skin, when you've got a DHT derivative, you got super high DHT, you look leaner. Why is that, right? Because you reduce the subcutaneous water volume under the tissue. The same thing happens in your scalp, and that tissue, which is fat tissue in the scalp, when it is less, it provides less protection for your hair follicles to be healthy, and then they start to fucking atrophy. So that's the cause of it. It is DHT itself, and it's less. Yeah, sure, it's mediated via the androgen receptors, but again, it's this subcutaneous buffer issue, which gets reduced via DHT. You're leaning out your scalp like you lean out everywhere else with DHT, with high DHT. Now, the great news is, so no, it's not E2. The great news is that you do not have to have DHT high enough to cause you to fucking nuke your hair in order to have erections and libido. You can have DHT in a range where you do not get hair loss and your erections and libido are fucking out of control. So you got to find that sweet spot. Can Nizoral shampoo cause 5-AR issues? Probably. Yeah, I mean, if this is, which I believe it is, a 5-alpha reductase blocker, Even if it's in the scalp, you folks have to remember that you've got blood vessels which take that 5-AR blocking mechanism systemic. You know, people that think and that take the advice of some of these companies saying this shit, that it's only local to the scalp or local to whatever, that assumes it will not permeate any blood vessels anywhere, which is untrue. It will. And assumes it won't go systemic, which is untrue. It will. So, you know, there is no such thing as an exclusively topical 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. You know, it would have to be paired with something that blocks it from absorption, which would make it ineffective for hair stuff, but it wouldn't enter the bloodstream. It just doesn't work. It does not work. Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes, that can happen. Be careful. The kind of shit that I've seen doing coaching, because I mean, all I do is sexual dysfunction, right? That's all I work on. And a good degree of it is folks that have taken hair loss drugs or other 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. It's not just finasteride. It's curcumin. Man, I've had a dude like mega dose curcumin for a while due to joint pain and other issues. Ended up with a total sexual dysfunction. That shit blocks DHT. It's some of these shampoos. It's minoxidil, right? Minoxidil raises prolactin, fucks up sexual function. Prolactin, by the way, is a 5-AR inhibitor. So you're indirectly, just because folks say, oh, you know, minoxidil is like blood flow, scalp, etc. Yeah, it raises prolactin. Prolactin is a 5-AR inhibitor. Prolactin's going to shut that. That's why it shuts your dick down, dude, after you climax. Yeah. Keep it in mind, brothers. David, I plan on taking TRT, 100 milligrams a week, I assume. Masteron 100 milligrams, and DHT 100 milligrams per week as HRT in all injections. Is there anything I should or shouldn't do alongside of this? I have type 2 diabetes and no sex drive. I would say that this is a bad protocol. It's a bad protocol. Number one, the 100 milligrams a week of TRT should be fine. That should land you with a reasonable estrogen so that it's not over range and you're not having dick problems. But Masteron at 100 with TRT at 100 is going to crush your estrogen. It is going to crush it at the gene expression level. Please look at what Masteron does. Blocking estrogen receptors, making it so that you don't have the post-receptor binding gene expression that will give you the estrogenic effect. In other words, at the tissues, you're going to be starved of estrogen and you're going to have ED and a lack of libido. Pair that with 100 milligrams of DHT, which also does that. Also is going to block estrogen at the gene expression level. This is not good. And you're probably going to have a fucking massive amount of hair loss with 100 milligrams of DHT per week. I would not be doing that. Nope. I'd get the 20% gel on Source List and dilute it to 1 milligram per drop. Believe me, boys, 1 milligram of transscrotal pure DHT oil is a lot. It's very powerful. Now, I've used it without diluting it, which would be, it's 20%. It's about 7 to 10 milligrams per drop. And that still did supercharge sexual function, but that came with hair loss. And I was on higher doses of tests at the time, so the DHT balanced it out to the extent that it could, considering there was elevated estradiol. You do not want to do this. I don't know where you got that. Probably you're kind of new to TRT or new to all this stuff. This is a bad protocol, man. Keith, thank you for the advice after 10 years of File Dialed In after watching so many of your videos. That's what we want. I like when people say, like recently I had a comment on the video about like the golden rule of TRT, or where I mentioned it a lot, you know, E2 between 20 and 35, DHT pretty high or slightly super physiologic. And I had a guy comment in a way which basically implied, hey, I've been taking the advice of the folks that say that estrogen doesn't need to be managed and all this shit. Finally, when I started listening to you, my erections and libido came back. You know, now I'm on this dose of test prop. It's modest. I need no AI. I've got enough DHT and estrogen's controlled. This is what we want. Because there are guys like this that, you know, 10 years, 5 years, 10 years more, God forbid, aren't dialed in on tests and they just accept it. Yeah, listen, I had to go through in the beginning of my own journey with TRT, but then as I learned more about it and started coaching people on it, like I had to go through this process of really truly understanding, you know, what to do to dial in sexual function, how everything works, how the sex organs work, how we need to somewhat be close to the diurnal rhythm of the peak in the morning and the trough at night. as to not have, steady state estradiol, which is not good because there's overlap. It's not just going to stay at 30 or 45. It's going to go up and keep going up in some cases. And, look, the stuff that I'm talking about here is TRT, which in and of itself is not a turnkey way to resolve libido and erection issues. It's in the nuance that you get everything dialed in for your body. That's what we're trying to talk about on this channel. And it is nice to see that folks are dialing in. Nice to see. Good morning, gentlemen and scholars. Ryan, how do you determine which AI to use? Do you experiment with each? Over the years, I've experimented with most of them. Arimidex, Aromacin primarily. For me, I can dial in on both of them, but Aromacin is more forgiving. Yeah, it doesn't just reduce blood estradiol like a jackhammer, It's more like a scalpel, a little bit more like a scalpel. It's still pretty powerful. And yeah, I mean, the half-lives are kind of similar. The reduction in estradiol, though, the time it takes to reduce estradiol is slower on Aromacin. It's not so much of this crazy powerful effect. It's like blunted, and it's kind of slow. And so this is why you can take too much Aromacin because you don't really see much of a difference in the first 3 days. You're like, maybe I should take more, but you shouldn't. It works slower and longer generally. And Aromacin would just be the answer usually. Now, if you like the rapid reduction in estrogen and that just works for you, as is the case with Arimidex or anastrozole, very, very quick reduction in estradiol, like, large scale saturation of the aromatase enzymes via that drug, which block them. And you can dial in your TRT protocol that way because maybe you're using something fast acting too, like prop. Then Arimidex makes sense. Then again, there are, of course, we have to include the folks that, take 200 milligrams a week of cypionate and they dose Arimidex at 0.5 milligrams the day after they inject 200 milligrams of cypionate. And that just lands their estrogen. Their body just adjusts that way, and the estrogen gets to 30, and their DHT is sky high, and their test is sky high, so they got rockin' libido and erections. That's not everybody. It's not most people. So keep that in mind. Topicals, do I recommend for hair growth? None. Will can do it. They're all going to fucking block DHT or increase prolactin. That's it. Tocotrienols are the only things in the literature which may aid in increasing hair growth and preventing loss to an extent. You also got to manage your DHT. You got to manage your DHT, dude. You want it high enough where libido and erections are fucking stellar, but not too high where you're just disaster diffuse hair thinning and the shit's coming out in the shower and stuff. And there is a sweet spot. This is what TRT is about. It's about finding the sweet spot of everything. DHT being one of those chemicals and estrogen being the other. I recommend no topicals for hair growth. None. Will can do it. Taking a very high dose of TRT, 350 milligrams of Sustanon. Started taking 100 milligrams of mass prop a week. Felt great in a week, but fizzled out in a week. How come? You crushed estrogen is why. That's all. Yeah. You stop the gene expression of estrogen. That's what happens, man. You're antagonizing estrogen receptors via Masteron. That stuff was used for treating breast cancer first, right? That's essentially what, it was marketed as in the pharmaceutical industry. So it does that. It has a very potent estrogen receptor blocking effect. Yeah, it terminates estrogen, the signal of estrogen at the receptor. Estrogen still latch onto those ERB, ERA receptors, but all the genetic sequences that usually happen after that to give you the effect of estrogen don't happen with Masteron. So that's what's happening. This is why I tell people, don't listen to the 1-1 ratio nonsense about Masteron. You're on 100 milligrams test and maybe I should do 100 milligrams Masteron. You're going to fucking crush your estrogen, man. Even 200, you're usually going to crush your estrogen. Brother is on 350 and 100 milligrams Masteron. Feeling like shit. It's definitely the estradiol being crushed, man, or just, kind of super inhibited. That is just what happens. You got to be careful with that stuff. Dose it way lower. 50 milligrams, 25 milligrams. Maybe run 5 milligrams a day. I know people that can only tolerate that. 10 milligrams every other day of Masteron. It's powerful shit, man. That is what happened. Nybe, NYBE, 3 clicks, 200 milligram cream. That's the best dose of that. You don't want to go to 4. Usually over aromatize at that. 6 a.m., 125 IU HEG. I think that's a good protocol where the labs, TT 906, free T 147, DHT 289, E254, and your hematocrit's a little high as well. Okay, so in this case, this is the problem with a 200 milligram cream. You need to go to 2 pumps first, next, and see if you can get the estrogen down to 30. It's probably not going to happen. I think at test at 906, that E2 is slightly higher than it should be. I would want to see it at like 45. That's still not good. This is why you need to get the cream course. And this is why folks need to really take heed to the idea that you should not be using the 200 milligram cream. Yeah, the 200 milligram cream is just like Cypionate insofar as how the clinics like operate. They go, yeah, this is just what we've been prescribing. This is what you should use. It's a bad idea. It's harder to dial in. You might have to go to like 1.5 pumps. Whereas you can do 3 pumps of the 100 milligram stuff to get that, or what is it, 4 pumps, whatever that is. Again, 100 milligrams is half the concentration. Sweet spot for 100 milligram cream is 4 to 6 pumps a day with just about that dose of HCG and 20 milligrams of DHEA. And you might have to adjust from there, but that's a good starting template. Get Mastering Testosterone Cream, dude. Anybody that needs to dial in on a cream, please get that course. You will save yourself potentially years, at the very least many months, dialing in. You'll save yourself the headache of having erection and libido issues on cream, where you shouldn't. Cream is, you shouldn't have libido erection on cream. If you got the 200 milligram stuff, man, it's just too fucking potent. And I think your bloods show that. I mean, guys, case in point. 360 days of sun. 305 a test, 305 of Masteron. You're doing this daily Anavar 50. I have a 95 estrogen. Haha. Only a very slightly sensitive left nipple. Adding EQ makes sense at low dose. So potentially, yeah, you're an over aromatizer, I would say. Yep. Yeah, because I mean, most folks, that 350 of Masteron would control the estrogen a lot. Now, the blood level of estrogen, here's the thing. If your erections are fine and libido is fine, I would do nothing. That's the biggest driver of, success on this. Your erections and libido. Where are they at? Hold on one sec, boys. Okay, that should work right there. You're a rare case that can do the 1:1 ratio. This doesn't happen often. Masteron usually just crushes people's fucking libido via crushing estrogen at the gene expression level, the receptor level. But, I don't know. Where's erections and libido? Where are they? That is the question to ask, bro. What's with the estrogen doesn't matter crew? Also saying hematocrit. I know, it's also that they say hematocrit doesn't matter. Really? Thick blood doesn't matter? This is why I just... Oh, God, man. I can't. Listen, I am a non-confrontational guy unless there's a confrontation that needs to happen. If somebody steps on my toes, etc., I'm going to be talking directly with them about it. And I'm going to make sure because listen, people will fuck with you if you do not lay down the law not to be fucked with. That's just how it is. Everybody wants to see what they can fucking get away with. But generally, I don't want to start trouble. I don't want to disagree with people. I don't want to have beefs. I'm fucking 41 years old, dude. I don't even really like the feeling. I have the stomach for it, but I don't even really like the feeling of, being at odds with people. I went to war, man. I had enough of that fucked up part of humanity. But this is one of those needed situations. If people are fucking saying that, it's fine to have the blood marker that determines the viscosity of your blood high, saying, which clearly indicates you have fucking thicker blood, I can't be on board with that. It is the case that they say that. Here's what I know about fringe ideas on the internet. It's more of a dogmatic ideology and a need to be right. And hey, they're saying something a little controversial. Let E2 go, hematocrit doesn't need to be managed, this kind of shit. So it tends to draw people's attention, right? Anything that is like this, it's kind of polarizing. It's polarizing. And so you got people that fucking agree and will just stand by you like sort of cult-like soldiers. And then you have people who strongly disagree. That's what happens with this. It happens with every new popular internet idea behind which there's like cherry-picked science, like keto. Some people can get away with keto, but they do carb refeeds. People that do strictly keto, their fucking bodies fall apart. Yeah, it's cellular starvation. That, you kick into the metabolic shift of converting your amino acids and your fatty acids via gluconeogenesis into what you need, which is carbohydrates. First of all, if you didn't need carbs, why would you convert them to carbs? Because your body fucking knows that's what fuels cells. So that whole thing, carnivore, it's very dogmatic, and it's so counter to what we know that people are like, oh, interesting. I can just load up on saturated fat. Like, as an example, I can just let my estrogen go. I can let my hematocrit go. This is what drives this. Also, the need to be right. And a lot of these folks have spewed so much garbage over the years, they're never going to then go, hey, guess what, YouTube and my however many thousands of subscribers, I was wrong. People aren't going to fucking do that. They're not going to do that. So it does seem crazy. It is crazy, but I think that is the underlying explanation for why people will maintain something that probably they know is wrong. Probably they know is wrong. Or they're taking their individual circumstances. I can sit at 51 hematocrit and 54 estradiol and everything's good. Yeah, that's not most people. You have to see enough people to know that that's not most people, which is what puzzles me too. Dude, I'm just a TRT coach. Some of these people are fucking doctors, man. Why? It's going along with the crowd. You put someone in a room with 15 other people in a different room. They're looking at a screen and that screen is blue. But those 15 people in the other room are saying it's green. That other person in the other room is going to go, well, I guess it's green, even though they see it's fucking blue. Social proof. It's bullshit. Can't pronounce your name, so I'll just say your question. What's the best way of moving from Cypionate to prop? You're on 200 3 times a week. Yeah. What I would do is give it a week of not injecting Cypionate, give it 7 straight days, and then start the prop. At least you get a jump start on that long ester leaving your system, which is going to take 5-6 weeks for it to be completely out. It's going to stop being problematically aromatizable after like 3 or 4 weeks. And the estrogen is going to go down right away. Just not to the eventual point that it's going to get at with your new 15 milligram a day prop dose or whatever. So give a week, take nothing, then start prop. Matt, how much DHT enanthate would be a good starting point for someone taking 20 milligrams of test prop? 5 milligrams 2x weekly, it should be okay. Just keep in mind, exogenous DHT, you don't need a lot of it. Again, a milligram a day or milligram every other day transcrotally is a lot of DHT. And it will raise the serum by a lot, and it will modify sexual function by a lot. So just keep that in mind. My question is, on that dose, on that protocol, why do you need DHT? That should be enough DHT. That HCG dose might be a tad high, but knock it down to 150, 125, and you'll have less aromatization. But hey, if you want to start with 5 twice weekly, give it a shot. David, I just checked your coaching prices. Can't afford it. I would if I could as I need. Is there any simple modification to the TRT Masteron HRT mention I could do, or just switch to cream? You'd have to remind me of your question, or better yet, super chat that. Right now, 50% off on all coaching. Also, though, you could book a Telegram consult. I think those are $4.99 right now, or a singular call with me, which is about $700. Hey, thanks for the super chat. Trevor, I'm 40 years old, not on TRT. Test is 525 and estrogen's 9. And I feel like crap. I have ED. Since estradiol is low, can I try HG monotherapy? So what dose do you recommend for everyday injections? I don't think that, so I'll make a statement here. I don't think that HCG monotherapy is a good idea for anybody unless your goal is to seek fertility enhancement. Yeah. The reason that is because you don't, with HCG monotherapy, you don't really get a good ratio typically of DHT to estradiol. HCG is pretty estrogenic of a compound. That's why you want to have the right dose of it in your TRT protocol. And so you're likely to end up with too much E2 versus DHT with this. I'm just not a fan of HCG monotherapy. I'm really not. You need a lot of it also, which is expensive as fuck. Even if you're going, to UGLs and getting the HCG, you're going to need like 2,000 IU every couple days. I think this is a bad idea. I think that probably you are apprehensive to go on TRT for the normal misguided reasons. I won't have fertility. I'm on it for life. Cardiac issues, et cetera, all of which have been fucking debunked. And there are great rational ways around that. HCG fixes the fertility parts. Listen, you want to be able to control all of the variables, the total test number, the free test number to an extent. Your body controls that, but SHBG plays a role. But DHT and estradiol, you're not going to be able to control them to the extent you could with TRT plus HCG with just HCG monotherapy. I think it is a bad idea, brother. Getting it in. Is this US dollars? Brother, you did not have to. Thank you, man. Wow. This dude just fucking paid for our business hosting. I think it's like $199 every 3 months. Thank you, man. Brother, ask questions. If you've got to ask questions, ask them. Getting it in. XXX. Are you a porn star? Or something you do professionally related to porn? Getting it in. With the $199 super chat. Brother. Thank you, man. Honestly, that's fucking awesome. Please ask questions if you had it. 47 years old, started TRT at 32. Never have I felt this good thanks to you. Fucking rocking, bro. I was probably deficient even as a kid. You're a godsend. Thank you so much for your content. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, some people are. I mean, I have known folks that have had pretty low testosterone their whole lives. To some degree, their puberty was a little delayed, or they just didn't, it just didn't really convert to being a man's man, and that's like DHT driven. So getting on TRT changed their fucking lives, man. Well, like when I was in my 20s, I had high test and I felt great and my physique looked great. Then in my 30s, like, early 30s is when I jumped on TRT. Like shit was going fucking downhill, man. With testosterone, I was able to just come back to where I was and be better. Music to my ears, man. I hope that, folks are out there having a better fucking life because of the shit that I'm talking about on this channel. It means a lot. Because I wish, partially, this is why I had to figure all this stuff out. Like when I started TRT, there weren't people talking about it like I'm talking about it. Right? Frankly, there's nobody talking about it the way I'm talking about it now because people focus on different aspects of it. I focus specifically on the sexual function part. Of course, the well-being comes along with that. But I'm happy you're in a good place, and thank you for the super chat, brother. If you have any more questions throughout this stream, I'll answer them, man. Just ask them. How long do you wait to check labs after laying DHT gel into your TRT protocol? It depends on what you're trying to look at. You're typically looking at DHT and estradiol, no matter what. So it would be wise to see, is the DHT lowering the serum on estrogen, because it can do that. If you start having side effects from DHT, excessive acne, hair loss, then you want to look at the DHT labs. So it's essentially about when you might run into side effects. Otherwise, if you're just curious about where it is, check it. But if you're trying to achieve DHT of 85 to 100, call it 75 to 100. That's the sweet spot zone for sexual function. And you're not doing it on your TRT protocol because you have to dose lower end doses as to not over aromatize. Then you want to every 2 weeks or so look at DHT. You can look at it anytime after a week of starting applying DHT or injecting DHT, because it's so fast acting and leaves the body quickly. You're going to see those numbers pretty quickly. Then you can gauge, at trough, am I at 60 or so? Because means peak, you're probably at 75 to 100, which is where you want to be on TRT. Pie Cubs. I took a break from cream and started using Test Prop 10 milligrams every other day and had a dull, unmotivated feeling after the injection. Why is that? Because that's not enough testosterone. That would be my best guess. Yeah, you're just going hypogonadal essentially. That's what I would assert is happening. And plus, your body is used to cream at this point. I wouldn't have switched. You just have to find the right dose of cream if you weren't dialed in. Yeah, could have been the case that that rapid peak. It's not a lot of tests right there, but some people respond to prop in weird ways where 15 milligrams takes them above 1,500 total test at peak. Doesn't happen to most of us. I wish. Then you got a little bit of test flu, like that's entirely possible. And like that can be explained via an immunogenic response to lots of testosterone at once, but I can't see that dose doing that. I think it's like if you were high physiologic or supra physiologic on tests, and then you switch to this dose, which is not a high dose, it's a very low dose of prop. That's probably what you're feeling. Big Z Baller with the $20 super chat. Thank you, brother. 4 pumps, 100 milligram cream. 100 IU HCG, 6 hours post dose. Okay, so 4 pumps. Yep, it's a pretty good dose. You might need a little more cream. Total T 1304. Okay, you don't need a little more cream. E244. Been down to 3 pumps for almost a week and haven't felt better yet. Well, what's going on? What is going on? Like, felt better? What is happening to you? Are you having sexual dysfunction at E244? Eventually, your junk is going to become accordion. You'll have accordion dick syndrome, where it's just not rigid and hard to get hard. You need a lot of Cialis. Higher you go on estrogen, the worse that gets. But you're a hyper responder. I've talked about this before. 4 pumps of 100 milligram cream, you're a hyper responder. You're a hyper responder. That the total T should not be 1304. Yeah, mine at 4 pumps would be like 500, 600, yeah, not that high. Yeah. At 5 pumps, I'm going to about high 7s, lower 800s, and my E2 falls in range. It's like 27. Every check lately and over the last few months on cream, 5 pumps, 100 milligram. Now 3 on the forearm, 2 on the scrotum, 166 IU a day of HCG. 20 milligrams DHEA. I'm always 27-30 on estradiol. So you're hyper responding here, man. Yeah. Yep. Give 3 pumps time and go recheck estrogen. At the same time, though, this is peak. So you want to look at trough too and see where you are. In the end, where's sexual function? Doesn't sound like it's good. Go to 3, run that after 2 weeks, run the peak and trough of estradiol and total T. So you get a better idea of where things are going. That T should be lower, and therefore the estradiol should be lower. If you got to do 2 pumps of the shit, it's a low dose, man, but you've got to dial that in to where it's just enough and not too little, not too much. Yes, that's not TRT. It's basically sports TRT. Anything above 350 would be a small cycle up to about 500, in which you're cycle territory. But hey, some people want to do that. Will can do it. When compared to Proviron, how would you dose it versus Masteron propionate to control estrogen and boost DHT? Well, they're not comparable in that regard. That's the thing. The only way that you control estrogen or lower it a good bit with Proviron is more than 25 milligrams a day, unless you're dosing 120 milligrams of test a week or lower. Then the 25 will lower estrogen enough because it's already kind of low at that dose. So Masteron, though, is a lot more powerful at blocking the estrogenic response at the receptor and gene level than Proviron is. Proviron is just a mild inhibitor of the aromatase enzyme. Yeah, that's it. So they're not comparable in that regard, brother. Can't pronounce your name, so I'm just going to read the question. I'm on 150 a test, prop, and HCG still can't dial in. Tried Proviron, was okay for a while. Libido comes and goes, struggling with erection, so I take more tests. No, brother, you should take less tests. 150 a prop a week. So what is that a day? 20. My brain is a little fried at the moment. Yeah, it's going to be 20-something, 21 milligrams, I want to say. Yeah, you're at 22 milligrams a day. Between 21 and 22, 21 and a half. Listen, where is estrogen? Where is estrogen right now? I would not be taking anything. Proviron's not going to help with that. Yeah, I'd lower your test dose. I'd lower it to 15 milligrams a day, run estradiol at the trough and at the peak within 2 weeks. 2 weeks after you make that change, go run estradiol at peak and trough of the prop and see where it is. Yeah, you just need to get it between 20 and 30 on both peak and trough, like maybe 33, 35 on peak and then 20, 25 on trough if you can. It's just a little too much test. Also, I don't know what your HCG dose is. If that HCG dose is too high, you are going to over-aromatize. What's the difference in numbers when it comes to total estrogen and estrogen sensitive? What should I focus on? You should focus on estrogen sensitive. Yeah, the regular estradiol test, it can pick up other proteins and shit, and it thinks they're estrogen. So you get an inaccurate reading. Just get estradiol sensitive. Ryan for president. I have a meme of Trump and Obama sitting having a meeting, and my face is Trump's face. I don't know why I did that, but it is funny. At one point, I was so heavy into politics when Trump ran first, because I saw this weird thing happen, which is where the press, which is supposed to be nonpartisan, became hyper partisan. And some high 90% of their content had a negative slant about Trump. And I was like, what the fuck is this? These are journalists. This is becoming a national psychological swaying operation where they're trying to change people. They're trying to modify the electorate's opinion. What the fuck is this? At that point, I was thinking about, maybe I should just run for president. But yeah. No, saner heads prevail. Matt, can you talk supplements? Vitamin D, creatine. Creatine, not really useful, honestly. I mean, yeah, to an extent, I don't know. Vitamin D, I think, is one of the supplements that everybody should be taking. It's in that same category of like magnesium and a B complex. Now, I don't take magnesium because I eat a lot of green vegetables throughout the week, but I do take a lot of vitamin D, 6,000 IU a day. Yeah, I think go YouTube Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and she's got like a variety of videos targeted specifically to the imperative nature of dosing vitamin D for immune health, among other things. It is a fucking very important hormone. It's a hormone. B complex is extremely necessary. You starve a person of B vitamins and they get dementia and Alzheimer's sooner. B vitamins are very protective against those things. You should take them every day if you can tolerate them. Some people have a hard time with B vitamins. I take a big B complex. It's a bioactive B complex from Life Extension every day of my life, and I will always do that. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday, brother. Got transdermal from Panda. It's almost like, okay, no sources on the channel, please. It's almost like alcohol and concentrated. Should I mix it with lotion to make it a cream? I don't know. Well, then you're going to change the concentration. Generally, I don't think transdermal test like gel is great. I think you just want to, go to a clinic and get test cream. Now, I'm vetting a source of actual test cream, but I haven't properly vetted it yet. There is one, but I can't put it on the source list because I don't know if it's good or not. People just don't make it. That's something that's compounded in pharmacies, and you want to get it from them. Ryan, thanks for the feedback. Curious, what effect, if any, does DHT supplement have on estradiol levels? Yes, the literature suggests it could raise it a little, but at the same time, it could also convert more to DHT, which blocks it a little at the gene expression side. Marginal at best is my answer. Therefore, yes. You start doing stupid doses. I would call them stupid doses because there are some internet, TRT YouTubers that suggest dosing DHEA in the 50 to 100 milligram dose range, which is dumb. And then you probably modify estradiol in the wrong direction too much, which would not be good. Tommy, do you have any tips to lower SHBG naturally, like foods to eat or avoid? No, I do not. I'm sure you could Google or chat GPT, if fucking craisins lower SHBG because one of their chemicals bind to the sex hormone binding globulin or something, but nah, not really, man. Not really, dude. Not really, man. No, nothing. Proviron, honestly, has a much higher affinity for that sex hormone binding globulin than DHT itself. Yeah, it does. So I would be using that. What is this? Okay, guys, Cyber 50. This is the coupon code, which right now for the extension of Cyber Week has most products 50% off. The only products that aren't are the Telegram consult and the call with me. Everything else, including coaching. So if you want to go 3 months or 6 months, you're going to save $2,500 and $5,000 respectively. If you're going a year with me, you're saving $8,000 with this. You're saving thousands of dollars on every coaching program right now. LiveCortex.com. Listen, I'm the guy that resolves libido and erection problems on TRT from the use of hair loss drugs. It's what I've been doing for years. I'm so good at it that, I just have full confidence we can fix any situation, honestly. Even the hardest ones. The PFS people are the hardest ones. And when I've got them, waking up with erections, having libido back, having sensation back, it's the greatest feeling in the world because the internet has been stumped on this for years. But all the courses, all the products, sourceless even, all 50% off. Is 100 nanograms per deciliter DHT level too high in your opinion? No, it's right in the sweet spot. Again, with DHT, you want to do this. You want enough DHT to enhance erection quality, erection rigidity, sensation, because DHT largely is what drives sensation, assuming estrogen's in range. And to have primal aggressive libido, but not enough to cause significant diffuse hair thinning and actual loss of hair. That sweet spot is usually 70, 75 to 100 nanograms per deciliter DHT. But people are going to find that might not be accurate for them. They might need to be at 60 because 60, 65, 70, a little bit of hair loss. It's just about finding the sweet spot, man. And you can stick within that window, but it still oscillate a little bit back and forth. Like estradiol, for me, it's like the zone within the zone is like 27 to 30, 26 to 30, I'm fine at like 17, 18 estradiol, but my libido starts to suffer when it's there. Yeah. It drops sub 10 and then I really don't have much libido. But erections are insane. Yeah, I'm in the sweet spot. The middle ground. Erections at night, erections in the morning. Libido, highly aggressive, persistent libido. Great erections for penetrative sex. That's where you want to be. I deviate in one direction or the other. And by the way, this is most people. Erections start changing, libido changes. Things change in one direction or the other. Be careful, brother. If cream becomes too frustrating, thank you for the super chat, brother, to dial in, what would be the next best ester to try? None. I remember you're the one that was on 3 pumps or 4 pumps and test was too high. You just have to go down a little bit. You're a hyper responder. You got to go down. I mean, if you're sitting at 1,300 total tests with 4 pumps of 100 milligram cream, yeah, go to 2 pumps. That'll probably split that in half. It might be around 700 total tests. Estrogen's in range. You have a lot of DHT. You're awesome. You need about a 650, 700 to be anabolic enough, to get the all day persistent energy benefits. At the same time, though, since cream peaks really rapidly, you get the energy. I'm not on a high dose of test right now. I'm just not, but I'm still fucking strong as hell at the gym. My physique is still basically where it was at my peak. That's with a pump. It's essentially where I am still. And I'm not on loads of tests. Not on loads of tests. What are my thoughts on calcium glucarate to lower estrogen 10 to 20 points? It will not do that. Nope. No, calcium glucarate kind of works like a hammer. It's like right away you get some reduction in estradiol because you clear it a lot faster. Your body, the mechanism that essentially kind of reincorporates estrogen into your body is inhibited. It's called glucuronidation. So it only does that, though, for a brief period that day. You'll find that the very next day, estrogen's kind of right back where it was. That's why you got to dose it every day and a lot of it. So you're not going to do it that way. You're better off either lowering the dose, getting some DHT, getting an AI, getting a DHT derivative, or using a modality of test which equals higher DHT and lower estrogen, which is cream. Will can do it. Can you take Masteron P or E indefinitely if you are perpetually high TRT dose? Sure, but your lipids are probably going to suffer for that. Maybe the cardiac muscle. I do not think if you're going to be sustainably taking Masteron, it should be at lower doses for health purposes. Now you can monitor your lipids and get echocardiograms and shit like that, and make sure there's no problems ongoingly, and then you might be able to take it for the rest of your life. But it's an anabolic steroid. It's not something that's really meant for you to be just dosing, at high doses willy-nilly for a long period of time. Bodybuilders do that, and if they're smart, like Vigorous Steve level ilk, then they're managing their health, and all those parameters are in range, and they are good. That's hard to do. It usually requires the use of a lot of ancillaries that control specific aspects of your blood. Blood pressure, hematocrits, lipids, liver function, stuff like that. So just something to think about. If you guys got questions, post them. Post the questions, boys. Post them. This week, in my casino adventures, I won $9,300. Yeah, I went and picked up about $9,300 from the casino. I am a high limit slot advantage player. I only play at opportune times, and there is a way to determine those opportune times. And this week I beat them for $9,000. It's very nice going there and picking up money. Me and my girl go there dressed up. I wear a suit. She wears something very nice and pretty. And we go and have a beer, sit in the high limit room for a while and chill, watch people, watch some of the progressives. We don't play there. It's better to play online. And then we go to the cash cage yet again and pick up money. And, we're usually picking up large amounts of money. So the finance people in the back come by and they have to approve it all. And they all fucking come and look at me and they're like, this fucking guy again. How the fuck is this guy doing this? Because I'm not a gambler is why. Gambling loses you money. It's a stupid idea. Intelligent play where you have a higher RTP or a higher expected value is the only way to play. That's why people play cards, and try to reduce the house edge even further by their own requests of shuffling and decks and shit like that. Because, you're looking at 99.6, 99.7. The house edge is 0.3%. Will can do it. What would be your suggestion when coming off of Masteron and having a high-dose TRT protocol? Switch to Proviron reduced TRT dose? Yes. Reduce the TRT dose. Proviron is not going to be comparable to Masteron at all in blocking estrogen. It's just not. You got to dose 75 to 100 to do that, and that comes with side effects like hair loss, overstimulation, acne, other things. Yeah, I'd reduce the TRT dose. How do I maintain size and strength when I do so? Well, if you're going down to 120, 130, or if you're going down to like a modest dose of cream, which gets you high DHT, but test in the 600, 700 range, just take 5 to 15 milligrams of Anavar every day. 8-week cycles. Monitor lipids, liver enzymes, cycle off of it. Give that a break. You will keep a lot of those gains. Anavar is the answer to that. Does Defy Medical source Proviron? No. No one in the States does. It is not a prescribable androgenic steroid in the United States. Unstupid, fortunately. Unstupid, fortunately. It is stupid. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It'd be great if we could, just get it. That and DHT. But we know the reason for that, and it's because, that same industry that would prescribe it makes way more money blocking it. You guys know what I mean. They make way more money blocking it. In regards to E2 levels, you're saying when I get labs on cream that my peak should be 30 to 35 and trough 20 to 25. That is a great range to be in. Yeah. Because it means that throughout the day, call it 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. or so, you're 30, 35. But then you drop back down to 27, 25, 20 even. So estrogen, you get a break from estrogen. So it can never saturate the tissue level so much that it starts blocking nitric oxide synthesis and shit. The stuff that estradiol at the penile level fucks up. It can't stay high enough to inhibit the base of the penis and its blood flow, arterial inflow. This is what estradiol blocks via many mechanisms. Estrogen interacts with the androgen receptors in a fucking negative way. These are things you don't want. If I just focused on raising my total test, will the DHT also increase? Yes, and so will the estradiol. So you can't just focus on that number. That is a non-nuanced, irresponsible way to look at it. Not trying to be a jerk, but I want to help you. You need to raise DHT without getting estradiol up significantly, either by using an AI, if you're using a long ester, or by using cream and finding the right dose where you get a good load of DHT, but estrogen's not over your range. This is why cream is the best. It's the best. Yes, I love test prop, largely because of how fucking awesome it feels. And it's a lot of DHT too, but it tends to aromatize more than cream at a peak, but then it troughs. Cream is just honestly the best answer for a lot of folks. It's always going to be. Test cream. One of the best inventions. Yeah, they started this thing in the early 2000s. They realized that testosterone applied transdermally to the scrotum because of all the 5-alpha reductase content, meaning you get a lot of DHT in your scrotum and you get a lot of conversion. They found out that it was so much more potent and actually the best site on the human body for testosterone absorption. They then went through that, clinical trials, FDA stuff, the creation of Testum and Androgel. Then the compounding pharmacy started thinking, hey, can we make this a cream and make it even better? Then they did, and it only started becoming available in 2017, 2018. It's the next best thing. Cream. Where can I get info on said slot advantages? Well, you've got to study advantage slot play. But even from what's out there, I devised my own strategy on it. I just happen to be a savant in pattern recognition, right? So I can see when progressives hit. I can see and read all of the cycles without writing them down. In other words, my brain keeps track of the tiers 1 through 5 progressives on high limit online slots and when they hit, and they hit at different times. So if the lower tier hit at 2029 one time, then it hit at 2100, then it went up to 2400. I'm tracking all that in my head without writing it down. And I know which cycle we're in. If the tier 3 hit at 9400, then 115, then back to 9400, then 9200, I'm tracking all that. Your brain has to be an ultra pattern recognizer. Although they say they're RNGs, there are patterns in when progressives hit, and therefore when a game is hot, hint, hot only when the progressives are loaded, except for when they cap, not hot then. Then you know when to play. And that information is not out there. I figured out my own strategy. I beat the casino for a lot of money. I am positive on the casino with slots, which is fucking unheard of. I picked up as much as 70 grand from the casino in a day. Do you recommend test cream? That was $180 bet though. Every time I pressed the spin button, $180. I'd gone through probably about 6 grand before I hit that, but I knew it was fucking coming or something big. I knew when that progressive hits, and it did. It literally did. JL Montaigne, 120 milligrams a week. Where's the cup a week? Split Monday and Thursday. Added 5 milligrams test prop Monday and Thursday. Noticed better erections. That's the DHT. Yes, that is just the DHT. Would I be a good person for hybrid protocol? Sure. Yeah, because you're just at 120 of sipping it. You're probably not getting a lot of DHT or enough. The estrogen's fine. You know, this is the problem people run into, which is when hybrid protocols are good. When you're going to stay on cypionate for whatever reason, maybe like the anabolism because it does stick around longer. And you need estrogen in range so that lower dose is getting it in range, but you don't have enough DHT to support very firm, rigid erections. You add a little bit of prop, it's a big peak, you get more DHT, it's better, you end up with better erections. If you added cream, it'd be probably even better, just like a pump of the 100 milligram per milliliter stuff every day. I figured that. Have I tried Test Prop plus Test E? Yes, and I never liked those. I never really liked those. The way to do that would be lower end dose cypionate or enanthate, 100 to 120, and then 5 to 10 milligrams of prop every day on top of that. That'd be the way to do it. But you got to get, it's got to make it so that estrogen doesn't peak and you just get a little peak in DHT and therefore you're getting the erections and stuff. On high dose TRT, 350 Sustanon, can you take Provider and Masteron together at low doses to boost DHT and control E2? Well, I suppose you could, yeah, but I think you were also running 350 of Masteron and that wasn't doing it for you. E2 was still at 95. Now, again, if it's blocking the tissue level estrogen, that tissue level might read 30 and you might be okay. How are libido and erections? That's the real question. But no, I think this is ultimately a bad idea. Your best bet on 350 milligrams of Sustanon is to find the right dose of Aromacin. That is your best bet. Aromacin or Primo. Okay, because Primo is an actual AI, Masteron is not. Aromacin or Primobolan would be the two compounds that you would want to try dialing in, not simultaneously one or the other, though. If I were you, I'd keep your 350 of Sustanon, and if you want to run that, it sounds like you do. And I would dose 12.5 milligrams of Aromacin once every 7 days. That's what I would do if I were you. And then dial it in from there. If you look at the estradiol and it's 45 still, you maybe take it every 6 days. If then it takes it to 35, I would lower the test dose to like 330, and then you'd be in the zone. That's how you do it. Tommy, can you tell the relationship between 5-alpha reductase and DHT if you want to increase your DHT with the goal to maximize 5-AR? Well, generally, yes. I mean, the only way you can do that is with raw DHT itself. That's why the 20% shit's so powerful to have. If you want to increase the expression of 5-alpha reductase enzymes, use DHT. That's what does it. That's what will do it. Contrary to what most things are. If you're adding something exogenously, usually shuts the creation mechanism down. DHT, it does the opposite. It makes you make more DHT. It increases the strength and the function of the 5-AR enzymes, is what the literature points to. Yeah. Yep. In the end, though, cream, this is why I keep harping on how awesome cream is, will just do that for you. It'll give you the DHT to upregulate the 5-AR. And because there's so many 5-alpha reductase enzymes in the scrotal skin, you're going to just get more DHT from cream. Cream is the fucking best invention ever. Yeah, that should be fine, honestly. You generally do want to supplement with DHA on TRT, 20 milligrams a day. At what milligrams a day of prop would you recommend in AI? The milligram a day of prop that takes your estrogen over range. That's what, because there is no solid answer for this that is universally applicable to everybody. It just doesn't exist. Yeah, some people can take 15 milligrams of prop and their total test is 1500 at peak. Some people like me take 15 milligrams of prop and my total test is 600. So that's why I can't answer that, because people respond differently in terms of total test and estradiol conversion to prop doses, different prop doses. So you can't really give a broad brush, a general recommendation. Doesn't make sense, brothers. Brothers. Doesn't make sense, brothers. I just call people plural. What's up, brothers? It's one guy. Hey, brothers. Hey, brothers. Hey, guys, like, wait, is there other brothers? Me? Brothers. Guys, Cyber Week extension, 50% off everything. Brothers. Brother. That's the code. The emperor, the Roman emperor, is holding the key to 50% off right now. Look at him. The Roman emperor. That's probably going to end at the end of next week. And I'll run other specials. I like giving you guys discounts, and it helps us move product. But I'm not going to be running 50%. So get it while you can. You are welcome. Boys, I'm going to end the stream. Great fucking questions. Thank you for being here. Much more content coming this week. Loads of shorts coming this week. I hope you guys appreciate the shorts. I've been working hard to make them really cool and to have, the AI sort of chat, the text representation of what I'm saying and focusing on salient points. So more of those coming this week. Look forward to that. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stick through the winter for those of you in the Northeast or anywhere where it's winter. I know it sucks shit, but we don't have all that much time left. And if you can plan a vacation in March, you get through January, February, and then you do your vacation in March somewhere tropical like Florida, and then you come back and spring's pretty close. All right, boys, kick ass, rock on. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Peace.